Assalamualaikum, Tajaha, Vanakkam, and welcome to CEKU Inspires episode 3. And I am Balkis, once again, being your host for CEKU Inspires. I'll just give some introduction to all the things you need to know about UKC, CEKU, and CEKU Inspires. So for all the new listeners and viewers, UKC is the umbrella body of all 79 Malaysian societies in the United Kingdom and Ireland. We represent the voices of over 16,000 Malaysian students studying in the UK and Ireland. And so next one is CEKU. So for your information, CEKU is UKEC's in-house publication. And actually, it's been around since 1998. And I'm surprised myself, actually, when I took up this role. I have to become the editor-in-chief for a publication that's been around decades ago. And at CEKU, we publish student-written articles embodying student activism, mainly. And we receive articles from Malaysians in the UK, Ireland, and even back home in Malaysia. We just want to allow them the opportunity to publish articles on a well-known platform. And for your information, Shazmi, and our viewers, CEKU Inspires is our new initiative. It's a UKC's first podcast series. We've never had a podcast series before. It's been launched in November last year, with our first episode starting very strong with Tan Sri Datuk Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah, former Director General of Health Malaysia, where we talked about all kinds of issues related to Malaysia's healthcare industry, and our second episode with another healthcare player, which is Dr. Carl King Yong, a consultant gastroenterologist at St. Mary's Hospital. And he's been working in the UK for all his life, so we gained a lot of insightful opinions regarding UK's healthcare system and how it can improve Malaysia's healthcare. But that's the past 2 episodes. Now we're going to focus on the current episode, which is episode 3. And for your information, our guest speaker is very special to UKC, I would say, because he's from Shell, and we're very proud to announce that Shell is one of our proud platinum sponsors starting early 2025, having previously been our gold sponsor. So we are very, very excited to host one of our sponsors on CEKU Inspires. And it is no other than our guest speaker being Shazmi Ali, the Vice President HR, Global Shell Business Operations, and VP HR Malaysia. Please introduce yourself. Feel free to introduce yourself more and talk about your early life, what we should know about you. Malaysians don't know.
All right. Well, thanks, Balkis, and thanks for making me part of CEKU. I cannot help but feel like you've downgraded CEKU from Dr. Nur Hisham to Shazmi, so I hope I can live up to the expectation of the program. So I've been in Shell for 6 years, and this is my third role in Shell. So I'm responsible for approximately 28,000 Shell employees across the globe under the Shell business operation. I'm based out of KL, but my role is pretty much virtual. So 1 out of 3 Shell global employees is under my responsibility. Apart from that, I'm also the VP HR Malaysia, which means the head of HR for Shell Malaysia. And by that capacity is when I've come to the UK a number of times, especially for UKEC programs. And I look forward to see you in April as well, when there is another UKC Malaysia Students Career Fair.
Yes.
About me, I grew up in Shah Alam. So I'm a Shah Alam boy. I still live in Shah Alam. Some people will say tak berkembang. I'm still in Shah Alam. My parents are in Shah Alam. My kids go to school around the area. And whenever anyone asks me to introduce myself, I would say I'm a full-time father of 3 children and a part-time Shell employee. Because the father part takes most of the time, and it's what I wish my identification is more of that than anything else. So I've got 3 children. I've got a pair of twins who will turn 11 this year, a boy and a girl twin. And I also have a 5-year-old, who's basically the boss of the house. So yeah, in my free time, of course, I do a number of different things, but I also play touch rugby, and I had the
I've
absolute
heard it.
privilege. Yeah, well, I've had the absolute privilege and honor to represent Malaysia at the Touch Rugby World Cup last year in Nottingham. For Don't be too impressed, it was the men's 40s category,
Have you always
and
played touch rugby? Actually.
no, I started about 5 years ago. Prior to that, look, I went to a normal sekolah kebangsaan. You don't play rugby in school, you play football, right? So it was only 5 years plus ago that I first held a rugby ball, and well, absolutely loved it. And I guess I'm not so bad at it, so I managed to represent Malaysia at the World Cup and the men's 40s team. Maybe we can talk more about it later as well. We broke all records for a Malaysian team. We actually
Wow.
a number of other illustrious teams, and we are top six in the world
Wow. Who would have
from a
thought?
non. Uh,
Who would have thought
yeah,
that our
neither did we.
sponsor
Neither
is
did
the
we. Neither did we. We went there with the aim of just winning one match because Malaysia had never won a single match, and we ended up winning, I think, 6 matches, reached the quarterfinals, and then ended up sixth. So yeah, that will always be one of my fondest memory ever.
That is very, very impressive. I only know knowledge about touch rugby because I come from Tunku Kusha College and we
Ah,
take pride in our touch rugby team. I've tried playing touch rugby a few times, but I absolutely respect you for being able to represent Malaysia in the sport.
yeah. Well, they say when you're old, you should sit down quietly, but I'm not sitting down quietly. So, of course, it creates a lot of injuries and pain, but yeah, really, really wonderful memory.
That's really nice to know that that's your hobby and that's very different as well. But
Yeah.
also I think it's really wonderful that you're a family person, while juggling a very huge role. And I'm a family person as well, so I can truly relate. But we'll touch more on work-life balance
Sure.
towards the end.
Sure. And
But
ask me anything you want.
yeah,
I'm an open book.
now we our guest speaker is an athlete
Yeah.
representing Malaysia. Can we know more about your life passion and how you strive towards it throughout your life?
Actually, to be honest, what I'm most passionate about is family. I've made a number of career decisions because of family.
Mm.
I've made most of my weekends, if I'm not playing touch rugby, there's no training, I spend time with the kids. Yeah, so if you ask me passion, well, definitely the kids. I think you put a lot of effort to make sure that you spend time with the children. So my job, I know a lot of people will say it's cool that I travel a lot for my job, but I would rather travel less and spend more time with the kids. So every time I get sort of quality hours with the children, then yeah, I want to maximize it. So if you ask me passion, I think one is of course kids. Two is I really, really love it if I can help someone to be a better version of themselves, especially at work or even among a number of students. I always see a lot of great potential in people. Just unfortunately, some of them don't get the chance to realize it. So if I have a small part that I can play to make sure people become 10% better, 5% better than what they are and what they believe they are, a lot of times you'll be surprised how a number of amazing people don't realize they're amazing. They need
Yeah,
someone to actually show them, a bit coach them on how they can achieve their goals. So whenever I am able to do that, I sleep well at night.
that's that's really amazing because I somehow our personal values and our life passion values align because this is a really relaxed podcast recording, by the way, to all viewers. We're just taking the time to get to know each other and get to know Shazmi on a more personal level. And I really like how you mentioned you try to bring out the best in people and strive towards making others better as well. And I
Yeah.
think that's a very important trait that you have that attracts other people to enjoy working with you. And
I hope so.
no wonder, no
Don't
wonder
ask my
you
team.
really saw.
Don't ask my team. They might disagree. They might not enjoy working with me. I'm not sure. But no. But and I think it's also the realization that I've got to where I am today because of a number of other people as well. So it's almost paying it forward. I realized a long time ago, Balkis, I'm not the most hardworking person. I've seen a lot more hardworking people. I'm not the smartest. I walk into a room knowing I'm not the smartest person in the room. So, but it's about collectively learning from each other and trying to be better, and also having that, in a way, humility to know that there's a lot more for you to do, and you can learn from actually anyone. The number of things you learn from, if you have younger siblings, you told me earlier that
Yeah.
your family is with you, you've got a 10-year-old
I
sibling.
have three siblings.
The number of things you can learn from someone younger from you, from your children or siblings, is actually amazing because they will give you point blank direct feedback with no filter, because they're not trying to jaga your hati, right? They just want to be straightforward to you. So yeah, it's about continuous learning throughout the journey of your life.
Yeah. And I really love the humility that you're trying to portray as well. But I think it's second nature to you. I also am not used to being in this position. I'll be very honest in this podcast as well. I'm new to UKEC. I've just been in UKEC for 10 months. Usually people become a executive councillor first and then become a vice chairperson. But I jumped to become a vice chairperson straight away. And I still resonate with you that I'm still learning along the way. I'll be honest as well. I looked through your LinkedIn profile last night,
Uh
and I
oh, stalker alert.
and I sort of I just wanted to know your profile better
Of course, yeah.
because I look up to like the amount of achievements that you have, but at the same time, what is it that Shazmi holds close to him? And because you seem like you are a really good leader, but then I saw one of your posts that you posted last year, and you said you don't think you're a good leader yet. Can you share more about that?
Yeah, because it's a journey, and I think the moment you think you're a good leader, that's a bit of a problem, because then I worry when someone says I'm a great leader, and not just me, like anyone say they're a great leader, they stop learning to continuously become a great leader. Remember, the people that you're leading will change over the years. Their profile changes, the demographic changes, their outlook of life changes. If you're going to follow the same model that you had, the same leadership model that you had 20 years ago, and feel someone who's 18 years old today is going to believe and follow you just because of that, then you're in for a rude shock, right? Again, I always believe respect is two ways. You got to give respect in order to gain respect. Just because you hold a particular title doesn't mean people will listen to you or will follow you. So it's always about inspiring people, not telling people what to
Yes, I agree once again. I think I will be agreeing to a lot of things, but I just get really excited when I get to meet someone who believes in teaching others through example, leading by example, and understanding that leading is a continuous learning process. I don't think I'm also a very good leader right now. Just like Shazmi, I believe that I have so many things that I can learn with other people. And I just want to know from Shazmi, um, is it true that one of the things that you still find challenging is building a realistic vision for the whole team? At the top of your list as being one of the things you still find challenging. And if that's one of the challenges, how do you go about your gaining your team's trust and setting that direction for your team?
Okay, so I might disagree a bit. And well, this is a cafe talk anyway,
Of
right?
course.
I think building a realistic vision is easy. Building an aspirational vision is difficult.
I see.
So if it's realistic, people can see the end. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, we can do that. It's like, asking you to walk 10 kilometers. Yeah, tough, but you'll be able to walk 10 kilometers. But telling you the goal is Balkis to run 200 kilometers by the end of the year. That's aspirational. It starts with the first 10 kilometers, but it's very much possible, right? So for me, the challenge is always not the realistic aspiration, it's not the realistic goals, but the aspirational one. Because as a leader, you're torn in between giving them a realistic goal where they know it's achievable and they can work towards it, but at the same time, giving an aspirational goal because you know they can do better than they think they can. The limitation is always in mindset, I believe, right? And I heard a long time ago this quote that I hold very dearly in my heart. The only limitation we have is the one that we set in our mind. That's the only limitation you have, right?
So that's also Tan Sri's values as well. He told me before that everything is in your mind.
Yeah. I agree, right? So as a leader, you are supposed to set that aspirational goal. So you need to tell the team. So for example, if you say you are part of the team, Balkish, I'll tell you, Balkish, we're at point A, we're going to go to point X. How you get to point X, I will leave it to you because I know you're smart enough to do it. My role as a leader is to coach you throughout that journey, and when there are obstacles or roadblocks or problems, now my role is to remove the problems for you, remove the obstacles. But getting there, if you hire smart people, which we do in Shell, they will know how to get there. And we are also not in an age where I hold your hand and walk you to point X. Then I might as well just do it myself, right? I know you'll be able to do it.
Yes. I really like how you just mentioned how it's okay to set ambitious goals at the same time, because it pushes people to think over the box and pushes them out of their comfort zone, because only then they will just find so many ways and explore all the mechanisms that they can hopefully use in order to achieve that goal. Because once you stop limiting your mind, then you can do it.
Right. The other thing is if they fail, and some of them will fail.
Of course.
Right? You don't blame them for that because you know they put in the effort.
Yes.
If there is a failure, the leader takes the blame. If there's a success, the team gets the credit.
That's really nice.
But that's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Why would, you set an almost unrealistic or aspirational goal. Now, if the team cannot achieve it, you cannot throw the team under the bus. You are the one who set the most difficult goal. You need to reflect, as someone who's leading the team, did I help the team to achieve the goal? If you didn't, then how can you throw them under the bus? You belong under the bus. But if they are successful, you cannot go to the front and say, hey, I did it, because the team did it.
Because it's hard to achieve that goal alone. You need all your team members to help you achieve.
Of course, definitely.
Talking about obstacles, right, Shazmi? I believe you have a lot of experiences in meeting so many kinds of people, and especially when you want to recruit people into your team. So I think a lot of people would like to know about the challenges in accurately assessing individuals' true intentions and capabilities, particularly their communication skills, and if their intention is good in a way that they want to help others, they want to continuously grow instead of having all the credit to themselves. So how do you effectively evaluate a candidate's personality, values, and beliefs?
So we do have a set of competencies that we measure people against in a job interview. Now, whether that's someone who hasn't joined Shell who's coming in, or someone who's already in Shell who's going for the next role and the next role, etc. Now, I will be the first to admit, no system is foolproof, right? There is going to be hit and miss. Most of the time you'll get the hits, sometimes you will miss with a candidate. Now, my worry always is the miss is not hiring someone who couldn't do the job. The miss is not hiring someone who could have done a brilliant job. For me, that's the miss. Because there are some people who are super quiet. There are some people who might not be able to express themselves as eloquently as some other people. But a lot of times in our culture, and I'm talking about Malaysia, not Shell, where someone speaks with a wonderful accent and speaks fast, speaks articulately, and we think, oh, this person can do the job. But they could be an empty vessel, right? Empty vessel make the most noise. So it's about making sure you don't lose out on a candidate that could have been brilliant just because their personality doesn't match you, or because the way they carry themselves is not to what you're used to. This unconscious bias is something that we really have to look at. How many times have you seen that? I'm going to pick on you right now. You get excited when you see a fellow TKC because I'm from TKC, I'm great. Another TKC person should be great too. It's normal, right? So how do we make sure that we don't just continue to hire people of the same mold, same style, because that's what we're familiar with.
Yeah,
For me,
but
that's
I agree with giving a lot of people the chance to prove themselves because not everyone comes from the same background. And I I'm okay with people pointing out the privilege that I have, but at the same time, um everyone has their own set of experiences that they carry with them. So sometimes people want to get into good schools or they want to try to work in a very prestigious company, but given that they were not given that exposure in the early years, so it puts them on an unfair pedestal. So it's really a relief to know that you realize that and you try to bring out the best in people. But so
yeah,
now,
and I can just very openly share my own story.
yeah, sure.
I applied to Shell because almost everyone's dream company to work for. I applied for Shell as a graduate when I finished my uni. Results were not great. They didn't even consider or shortlist my application. So like, you go away kind of thing. I remember at that point of time, Shell used to only hire first class honors at that time, right? And I remember going to the career fair and asking the person who was there and say, I'm keen on Shell, blah 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 blah. I'm an all rounder. They were like, oh sorry, we only take people with first class honors. So first rejection. Then after a few years of working, I used to do a business role. HR, I just started doing in the last 20 years. Prior to that, I had my own startup. I was doing business roles. Startup failed. Wanted to apply into Shell, hoping that my business experience would have helped. I sent in an extremely thorough application, like everything I covered in my application end to end. I didn't hear a single thing from Shell. So second rejection, I'm like, okay. So then when about 6.5 years, 7 years ago, when Shell called me and said, do you want, we are thinking of, we want to headhunt you, we want to shortlist you, are you keen? Honest to God, Marcus, I thought it was a scam. Because you guys rejected me twice last time, for sure you're not coming back for me. But then I was like, oh no,
Too good to be true.
Too good to be true. And like, nah. So then they said, no, we are actually serious. And I had coffee with the leaders and I went through the whole interview process, etc. So you realize sometimes it's okay in life to be rejected once or twice. But you never know. I'm also a firm believer in risky, right? You can work, sometimes if it's meant to be, it's just meant to be.
Yes.
So
opportunities like that, they come to you and you never expect you'd get it. But it's meant for you, so it will reach you.
Correct. And of course, sometimes it will just never come to you. Something else comes to you, right? And it doesn't make you a lesser person, just that you will never know when fate brings you something interesting.
Yes. And I really like how you just remind us all of having that open mindset to not be too rigid as to what you want in your life, because maybe the next opportunity that comes to you is better, much better than what you hoped for initially. Yeah. Building on that, can you please share some tips on how students out there, because our listeners, I mean, Malaysian students come from different backgrounds, and you agree with that. Some come from day school, some from boarding school, private school, and not everyone has the same opportunities. So how would you advise students to start navigating their career choices despite being from so many different backgrounds? So from school, college, university levels.
Yeah, I think first thing is that realization that once you're in uni, it's a completely clean slate. Now,
Okay.
whether you came from Eton, for example, it makes no difference now already because now everyone's on the same level playing field.
Yeah.
So that mindset that I came from, for example, Sekolah Kebangsaan or SRJ, and not from a top tier school. I'm disadvantaged at uni. No, it's the same thing. Once you complete uni and you join an organization, for example, let's say you join Shell. Now, whether you are from MIT or you are from UUM, University Utara Malaysia, where I came from,
Yes.
makes no difference already because you are all new hires in Shell. But the problem I'm seeing for a number of Malaysians, and I was guilty of the same thing, is you have that baggage that you carry. Oh,
Yes.
this guy's from Imperial. He's a UK graduate. Oh, he must be really good. And then you feel like lack of self-esteem, lack of confidence, and then you start making mistakes in the way, right?
Expectations
Correct.
from your
Correct.
background.
Yeah. It's the same thing when you first start working with different nationalities. You still have, as you are growing up, you still have in Malaysia, you still have that colonial mindset that people in the West are really great until you start going to the university with them or start talking, then you'll be like, they're just like me,
Yeah.
right? So, but before meeting them and trying to compete, you always feel like you're the inferior one. It's about changing that mindset is going to be really important. And speak to a lot of people who you would have seen who didn't come from a privileged background, but have overcome the odds.
Yes. I really like how you mentioned that. Touch on having that belief in yourself, even though you come from different backgrounds, it doesn't dictate your capability in the future. And I
Yeah.
really like how you also touched on because you're from TKC or Imperial, and then you have to excel well. I think that puts a lot of expectation and burden on excellent students as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
you were
course.
saying?
Yeah, because you're absolutely spot on, right? Because it works both ways, right? The one who comes from sort of a normal school, you have that inferiority complex. But the one who comes from a fantastic school, the expectation is you to continue to excel because, come on, you're from Imperial, come on, you're from
Mm.
Oxford, you're from Cambridge, you have to do well. Or you're from Warwick or Manchester, like the expectation is there. But again, it's all about, and for me, honestly, it starts from a clean slate. And
Yes.
that's where you have that chance. If it doesn't start from a clean state, then of course it's difficult, but it always does.
Mm-hmm. And Shazmi, can I just ask, what made you reach to this conclusion, like to this mindset? Because you must have gone through so many experiences, but now you believe and hold on to everyone having a clean slate. Everyone should be given the opportunity, and it's really sayang when you just miss recruiting people who could have proven themselves better. What made you embody this mindset
Oh, I wish I have an interesting story to say. This was the moment that made me realize I don't. I think it's just over time.
over time?
And for me, I think the realization came a lot more when I started working multinational corporations. When you realize that everyone is the same, is the kind of work you put in at that moment that's going to count. And yeah, at work you're assessed on an annual basis. So even if you have, let's say, a bad year or an average year, doesn't mean next year is going to be better on average. You will quickly see it commensurates a lot with the effort that you put in.
Yes. And if
But
that's
of course, there is always fate, lah, right? So
mm,
again, I believe in that, right? There is that takdir and the key, but you cannot just sit down hoping, oh, I'm going to get an A because I'm waiting for fate to give me an A. No, you have to put in the effort.
of course. Yeah, but it's really reassuring for everyone out there to know just because your company or your even yourself last year you had a good year or a bad year, but that doesn't mean the next year will continue the same pattern. So hard
Yeah.
work. and starting fresh. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure most of you would have seen that podcast where Tom Hanks say, "This shall pass. You are having a bad day, don't worry, it will pass. You're having a good day, this will also pass."
Yes.
Right? So it's understanding that one day at a time, no
Yes.
rush. We are all at our own time, at our own pace.
Yeah, and as cliche as it might sound, I think it's a really good reminder for everyone, especially back in Malaysia. I think a lot of people they tend to forget about these important advice when they're on the ground themselves, when they're working and they're stressed with the work-life balance that is just so, I think it's not at the best state in Malaysia, where people work overtime. Hustle culture is very common. When you work more and then
Do
you
you really
receive
think
more.
hustle culture is more in Malaysia than UK?
Um, from my experience, because I have relatives here, working here, and I have my family back in Malaysia. And the culture, working culture is truly different. Like here, one of my relatives is a manager, and she can simply say she doesn't want meetings 3 p.m. onwards. So even the higher ups and the people, her team will accommodate to that. And they will know, okay, she doesn't want any meetings, let's try to rush. But in Malaysia, my parents, my uncles, even though they're like high head of
High
department,
level, yeah.
yeah, they still work overtime. They still come back at 10 p.m., 11 p.m.
Okay, so I really think more than it's a national culture, I think it's a company culture of the organization.
Company culture.
I think whether you work in Shell UK or Shell Malaysia, from a culture, work-life balance, respect for people, it's going to be very similar. Um, so it really, I think it's very industry dependent, it's very organization dependent. We are very flexible in Shell.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's just how the culture is. Whether you are in Shell Malaysia or Shell UK, you probably get the same culture. The difference is if you have to go to office on days that you need to go to the office, in KL probably you have a worse traffic than London, for example. But London, the commute can take very long too. I've come to London so many times. I know commute in London can also take very long.
Yes.
But in terms of culture, I think it really depending on the organization more than the country. That's my take.
But then, how would you advise other organizations in Malaysia that is trying to improve their work culture, organization culture? What's the first step, or what should they do? Like, what are the things that they should consider so that more organizations like Shell provide more flexible working conditions to the workers?
The key word is only one: is trust.
Trust.
It's basic. The only reason you want everybody to come to office on the daily basis because you don't trust. But these are the same organizations who they will say in their mantra is we trust. But you are obviously exhibiting untrustworthy behavior, right? But if you trust someone will do the job, even when you're not looking, then why do you have to make sure they come to office every single day, right? So I think for me the key is trust, and it's a bit weird, Sometimes like you will assign, let's say, right, we assign Jack with a multi-billion-dollar project, so you trust him enough to run that project, but you need him to come to work every single day. So are you showing trust? Are you not showing trust? If you trust enough to assign them with massive responsibility, why not trust them that they can manage their work at their own time?
But on the top of my
I'm
mind,
not.
I think
Yeah.
some companies would say, but that it would also require them to risk some of their assets or their capital, and maybe they can't afford to do that. So they, if
Well, I'm not saying don't come to work at all. You can come a couple of days a week because I think that face-to-face engagement, discussion, collaboration, team meeting, those are very, very crucial. So I'm
yes,
not advocating don't meet up at all. I think that's the other extreme. But I think you can be flexible. I honestly, so I give you an example. I have team members because they live a bit far from KL. On days that they come to office, they come in at 10:30 in the morning or 11, and they leave before 4 o'clock because they don't want to get stuck in traffic. but I trust them enough that work will get delivered. And of course, if work doesn't get delivered, then you play hardball with them. But as long as work is delivered, why would you care? Now, I'm not naive to know some people don't take advantage of it. Now, of course, some people will take advantage of it. But I've always believed, okay, if we have an amazing policy, maybe 10% will take advantage of it. 90% will be grateful, appreciative, and do a lot more than what they will normally do. But they know the company trusts them and there's a lot of flexibility. Now, for the sake of the 10% who will take advantage or cheat, you cannot disadvantage the 90%. That's the majority of people who are toiling day in and day out and delivering for you. Now, what happens in a number of organizations is because of this 10%, everyone has to follow the strict rules.
Yeah.
Because, or not the 10% will cheat. But the 90% is not. Why punish them? It's like, zaman sekolah, if one person makes bising in class, everyone has to stand up as a punishment. Why? That one person will stand up.
Yeah, that's right. Why collective punishment?
Correct. I know you say you want to show example, etc., but come on, we're all adults.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for touching on that, because I do believe in efficient work culture. So just because you spend hours and hours in the office doesn't mean you're doing work in all the hours you're there. Sometimes, like, I really agree with you allowing your workers to come at 10:30 and leave before 4, because they value that time more. And so all the things that you bring in the meetings must all be urgent, crucial stuff that you should get done. And then once they come back home, they can just deal with all the things that they can settle on their own.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Correct. Yeah, and that's why, like, for us, typically most of us work 2 days a week in the office, but those 2 days are assigned days. So it's not you come on Monday, Jack come on Tuesday, I come on Wednesday. Then if we need a meeting, we all get on a call. Then what's the point? Might as well you just work from home. So we mandate, for example, Tuesdays is work from office days. So everyone is there on Tuesday. You can go makan, you have your team meetings, your one-on-one discussion, brainstorming. All those things happen on Tuesday. The work that you do on an individual basis, you can work on other days.
Yeah, that's true. And also, now can I just shift the discussion a bit?
Sure, up to you. I'm at your disposal, whatever you want.
I'm just really curious, because looking at your background, you did human resource since your undergraduate studies. So just wanted to know, maybe a lot of people just want to know, why do you enjoy working in human resource? Because some people would think they would prefer to start their own business or something, because they don't want to work with people. It's just so stressful.
Yeah, but working with people is difficult. I would say it's a piece of cake, but it's very gratifying, because you cannot be smarter than you are unless you work with other people and learn from them. Right? So anyway, my story on why I took HR is not because I have to be very honest, not because I was passionate about human resources, because I didn't know what else to take. I went to University Utara with limited options. We couldn't afford to go for private university, private college. So whatever that is offered by the university, you grab it with both hands, like being very grateful. So in UUM, I had 3 options, if I recall. I had a business HR option, an accounting option, or an IT option. Now, that was late 90s. I had no idea what IT was all about, to be very honest. We never owned a computer, etc. And again, at that point of time, I found so many of my friends who already had computers, who sort of seemed like they're at a disadvantage, and you're like far behind. So you're like, okay, I don't want to take IT. I don't know what that's all about. I didn't like numbers. That's what I thought. So I'm like, okay, accountancy is out of the question. So then I took a business HR degree. That's how I fell into HR. Not knowing that first semester, my first few papers were all Principles of Accounting, Finance Management 101. I'm like,
You can't run from it.
yeah, I can't run. It's like silly me. And the irony was I did better in those papers than my normal papers.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, but that's how I got into HR. When I graduated, I did a bit of HR for a bit. I didn't like it, in all honesty. And then together with friends, I joined a startup. We really loved the startup. It was an IT startup. But like most startup, first 2 years it was successful. But by the third year, the economy crashed, etc. Then we had to close the business. And I was doing business development then. And then my next role in another company was also doing business. So my first 5-6 years of my career were all business marketing related. And then one day someone asked me, "Do you want to do HR?" I'm like, "Okay, but I don't want to do payroll because I didn't like it." They said, "No, this is a new startup. It was called Scan Associates. Um, you can do anything you want for HR. It's like a blank canvas, right?" And that's how I started doing HR. And until today, never look back.
That's really nice. And because you got that blank canvas, what did you do with that blank canvas?
Speak to people to understand what their expectation, and also learn from error, and also realize that the best way of me making sure the HR in this organization is great is by speaking to other HR practitioners in other companies. So don't be bodoh sombong lah, right? If you don't really know, go and ask around. And people are generally very happy to teach. The HR fraternity, among my peers of other organizations, we always learn from one another, especially like during COVID times when everyone's trying to grapple with new policy, new change. A lot of us, we learn from one another. So if you have that group of people that you, although not within your own organization, but people who are willing to share knowledge and you do the same, reciprocate it, that's the best way of doing it.
You're talking about COVID-19, right, Shazmi? And that was a very stressful period in our country. What were the
across the world, for sure.
Yeah, across the world. What were the lessons, crucial HR lessons that you were able to identify, you and your team and other HR members?
I think being agile was a big one, because a number of us work from home, but we also share. We have people working offshore. We have a gas plant that runs 24/7. So for those people, they still had to go to the plant, go to work every single day, and is how do you be agile in your practices, in your policies, because you cannot say everyone work from home or everyone work back to the plant. Is that ability to be agile. The second thing is, if you remember, government regulations, as they were also learning, also kept changing. We had to adapt to that. And I think it was then that I was only in my second year in Shell. It was then that I realized that Shell is just so different from other organizations. When they mean trust, they really, really mean trust. And that flexibility, etc. So yeah, that was my aha moment, was how lucky I am. I'm in an organization that actually trusts me, compared to a number of my peers who were really, really struggling. So and to just highlight one example, right? I think lockdown was in March. We always had you can work from home policy, but people never work from home every week, right? Just as and when, one day a month or whatever, not right. But now this one, everybody had to work from home. So in May, I think 2 months or 3 months after that, we told people, say, you know what, looks like this is going to stay for a bit. We're going to give you an allowance to buy, sort of help you to buy a home office, basically very minimal, right? And that, how do we give you, is based on a survey that you can do. So do you have a home screen? Yes or no? Do you have an ergonomic chair? Yes or no? Do you have proper tables? Yes or no? Completely based on trust.
Yes.
Right? So if you say I have nothing, then maybe the system basically calculates and say, okay, you get $700-800. Now that money that is given to you, we don't expect a single receipt. We don't expect you to show pictures that you bought a new table,
Not even pictures.
not even picture,
Oh.
because we trust that we do so much for you. You're not going to cheat us for a few hundred US dollars.
Okay.
That's trust. And then people complain. You just did the survey in May, June. I bought my stuff in March. So of course I say I have everything, but I just bought it. So okay, we came up with a second survey. Have you recently in the last few months bought this? And again, completely based on trust.
Mhm.
Give people allowance based on that. And the notion is not that we know some people won't cheat. Some people will cheat.
Yeah.
But if you say you trust your people, they're not going to cheat you for a few hundred years. And the people really appreciated it. I think it just enforces the idea that we work on trust. We know that you are an adult and you're going to work well.
Talking about trust, I think the COVID-19 pandemic really is like the perfect example to use in terms of building trust in all sectors as well. Because the health industry, where the public-private sectors had to trust each other to share resources, and even me as a student, our teachers had to trust us to join our online classes, and I was taking SPM that year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was really the teachers didn't even ask people to open their camera anymore. It's pure trust based that the students will join and will learn the material.
Yeah.
And
Because I mean, for me, that's treating you like an adult, right? It's
yeah,
already treating you like an adult. I mean, you have a major exam coming up. If you feel you don't want to attend classes, well, too bad, lah.
yeah. But it also allows people to properly evaluate what will be best for them. So if, let's say, like that 10% people, if they think they can cheat now, will that be favorable for them in the future? Where hard work actually achieves the goal and will push that person to achieve greater heights. So I think that's how trust slowly develops people's critical thinking and choosing the right decision for themselves as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, we hire smart people who
Yes.
are super intelligent. Don't insult their intelligence,
Yeah.
right? You don't say this is a policy because of blah 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 blah. People know if you're trying to check on them, they will know you're trying to check on them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you hire smart people because you know they can do a job, then let them do their job.
Yeah. Just a fun question right now. Because you promote a lot of flexible working and, promoting trust, would you say you're a master at work-life balance now, more than ever?
Well, I don't think anyone is a master at work-life balance, but I know, Bakis, I know what works for me. And
Okay.
what works for me will not work for you, might not work for you, might not be the best way of for someone else, right? I hate traffic jams. So I typically come to work at 9-ish. I go back at 4-ish before traffic jam. Now, because I work on a global role, sometimes I do have night calls with US and because of the time zone difference, right? Now, on those days, if I have a gap at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll come back, spend time with the kids, and then I do my night call. So that is work-life balance. For me, that's for me, right? Now, I've got a best friend who believes that he will never bring back work to the house. So he believes he wants to finish all his work, and when he comes back home, that's it.
Is that
So
possible?
for him that works. So, but he comes back late lah. He comes back 8:30. Of course, he works in a different organization. But for him, when he comes back home at 8:30, he's going to watch TV until 11 o'clock. That's his work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I want to be able to play with the kids in the evening, have dinner together. So again, so everyone has the most important thing is what makes you happy when it comes to work-life balance. It's not a cookie cutter model, right? That everyone will go the same way. But I'm happy in my work-life balance. I can't complain.
And you're a big family person as well, right? Would you say having family support and understanding played a really crucial role in boosting your career journey?
Of course. And not just family, right? Your
Yep.
friends, your peers. Nobody is ever at the top because of themselves. It's a collective effort from everyone that has helped you to. It takes a village to be successful, right? So
Yes.
when you are successful, don't belagak and think it was all because of you, right?
Mm,
You have to understand that there are a number of people who also work together with you to help you get there.
yes. Yes, it's always important to remember what got you here.
Yeah,
And when
for
you
sure.
start reflecting, there's always other people like your children, maybe. Does your children
Yeah.
inspire you to work better?
Oh, all the time, all the time. Let me share. So I used to work prior to Shell. I used to work with Pfizer. I
Yes.
love with Pfizer. I was there about 5 years plus. First 4 years I was based out of KL. I was doing a regional job, taking care of Southeast Asia, South Korea. Really, really enjoyed my job. Then my job took me to Singapore. I was earning really, really well because Singapore dollars, low taxes, like everything suddenly is time 3.2, 3.3 because of the currency. But my kids were, my family was still in KL. So every Friday I will fly back in to KL. Sunday night, take the last flight, fly out. I didn't miss a single week during the
Wow.
entire period. Um, but one day, my twins were probably about maybe I think 3 years old or something, and I was stupid. I used to ask them, oh, I didn't know at 3 year old you learn so many new things, right? So I was stupid enough to say, oh, I didn't know you could do this. I didn't know you could do that. And my 3 year old daughter,
Mhm.
point blank, without any hesitation, just said, because you're always not around.
Wow.
And she wasn't trying to be nasty. She's just telling, oh, you don't know I've learned so many new things because you're always not
Telling the
around.
truth.
Telling the truth, right?
Mhm.
And it was then, by that time, Shell had already called me a couple of times whether I'm interested to join Shell. And it was at that moment, it was a Sunday night. I remember flying back to Singapore. It was that next day, Monday, that I called back the headhunter and say, you know what, I want to come back to Malaysia. Yes.
Mhm.
I will put my name for the interview round.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
But
it's this kind of
yeah,
feedback that's really, really important.
but in those moments, right, when your daughter, she tells you you're not always around, but at the same time, you just received a really good opportunity that maybe you'll continue being busy. So what should you do when you're faced with that situation?
I think it's what is your compass, right? If your compass is family, then just do what's right for the family. If your compass is career goals, for example, and not saying one is correct over the other, it's just your individual preference, then you see what's best for your career. They also, I think, there are times that you switch. There are times in life where you feel the family is more important. There are times in life where you feel the career is more important. It's too idealistic to say it's always the family you need.
Yeah.
No lah. Right? But you have to switch on and off and see what's important at that point of time.
And also, can we have both? Can we have both actually? We want to chase
Boleh,
a career and then we
boleh.
also want to spend time with family. That's possible too.
Yeah, but that's your balance, right? It's about finding your balance. So like I feel today, Alhamdulillah, I've got good enough time with my family and good enough time with work. So I'm blessed in that sense, right? Because I also work in an organization that's super flexible, so that really really helps. Um, One day maybe my priorities might change, and I might feel, oh, this is a time for a different type of career, for example. Um, that might happen too.
Yes. But also,
But but my last two jobs have always been for family reasons.
mhm. And because you prioritize your family, would you say you received so many good opportunities as well?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're blessed, right? One way or another.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's also a lot of risky and blessings from everyone. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Of
and
course, my kids might tell if my kids were here, they'll say, but daddy travels so much. So they might just tell you, I'm still not around a lot. But compared to being in Singapore from Monday to Friday, well, I still spend a lot of time with them now. And that was just before COVID. I cannot imagine if I was stuck in Singapore with national borders closed.
During COVID.
And yeah, so.
But I think it's okay. It's okay that they conveyed those thoughts to you because it just
Oh, I
shows
love this.
that they love spending time with you. And it
Yeah,
just motivates you more because you are so blessed in so many ways, right?
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, yeah. Recently, my son gave me such a powerful, makan hati kind of message. Because whenever I travel, they'll be like, "Oh, why do you need to travel? Why do you travel?" The other day, he asked me such a pointed question. He asked me, "Why did you choose a job that takes you away from us?"
Wow.
Because it's no longer my job requires me to travel. No, no, but you chose that job, right? So why did you
Yeah.
choose a job that takes you to travel? Oh, I of course explained to him, even I'm far, but daddy loves you, daddy's always thinking of you all. But then I explained to him that at my level, no matter what job I take, will take me traveling. But when I'm not traveling, I spend a lot of time here at home. We have dinners together. I'm in the evening, always around. So then he got it. I mean, we told it has to be a bit realistic, but I love this kind of thing. So no one else is going to give you.
But I think it just strengthens your bond as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just cannot, you can't say no when you have to travel. Just like me, I can relate because I've been at boarding school since I was 13. Sometimes I really just want to go back home. And I have
Yeah.
young sisters who would actually hug me and cry to me when I wanted to leave because I can just spend time over the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then it just teaches you to appreciate more the time that you have with them and just try to make the most out of it.
Yeah.
And
So
they
right now,
inspire
I
you.
think I told you, Hari, that I was in the UK during
Yeah,
the Christmas period until early Jan. Um,
last week.
because my wife is in UK for 4 months for an attachment, 1.5 months. She's at Gosh, Great Ormond Street Hospital. So the kids are going to be with me for the next 4 months, and my work is flexible enough that I've told my bosses very point blank, I'm not traveling for the next 3 months. But the kids are here with me, and all my bosses, no problem, Shazmi, we got your back. You decide how you want. But I'm realistic enough to know that from May onwards, I will travel a lot more.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that is being realistic. But having that flexibility to say, this is my family time, I have to make sure that I'm around every night. And everyone says, yeah, okay, don't worry, we got your back. We'll understand.
That's really amazing. That's like a dream team, honestly, because you can be flexible to meet everyone's needs. And there's no shame in wanting to spend more time at the office or spend more time at home. It's just about meeting everyone's needs, but at the same time meeting the company's goals and expectation. And that's all that matters. How you do it should be flexible.
And if I have, sometimes engagements on weekends, my kids are always with me. We had a UKC panel recently in KL. I think it was the MSLS or something.
Yeah.
And I brought my kids along. So they were sitting at the back while listening to Daddy speak nonsense during the panel. But because I told my team and I told the UKC team, this is family time on weekend. I will come, not a problem, but I'm bringing the kids. Do you have a problem with it? No, we are okay. So yeah, the kids came, they listened to the talk.
And funny
But again,
enough, I
sorry?
really wanted to meet you at MSLS. Actually,
Yeah.
the way for family time holiday.
Oh well, trust me, holiday and listening to Shazmi speak, you didn't. You picked the right choice. But again, you have to be true to yourself. The worst thing you can do is feel guilty about not having family time, not having the courage to say that I will come if I can bring my kids. But then it's a lose-lose. You're not happy being there and you're not happy at home. So you just have to be very honest and tell people, I will come, but I'm bringing my children. People will understand, right?
Mm-hmm. And it's all about communication as well, to not be afraid to just be honest what you need and what you feel like what's best for you. And I think people are just mature enough to want to accommodate because, yeah, that's how it
And I
is.
think to a certain extent, people respect that you
Yeah.
are being very transparent.
Mm-hmm.
What's the
Because,
point of imagine I had come and then I whine and whinge about, oh, I couldn't spend time with my family, blah 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 blah. The cakap belakang culture is not going to help anyone. It's not going to help
yeah,
you, not help me. Might as well just be transparent and honest.
yeah. But that culture, right, now that you brought that up, how do we improve that in Malaysia? Because a lot of people macam nak jaga hati, tak nak, they don't want to seem like too much.
Upset the apple cart in a way, right?
Yeah. Don't want to
I
seem
don't know.
like a burden or something.
I think that one is cultural, right? Like you want to please,
Hmm.
but Balkis, you live life once. The person you have to please is yourself first, no? If you're not, and I guess if you're not happy, you're not going to make anyone else happy. But I'm not utopian. I understand you're not going to be able to get your way all the time. But I think at least express yourself. The most they would have said, no, we cannot accommodate your children. Okay, fine. But at least you tried.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's a way of approaching things like, if you feel you're going to upset someone, don't do it in front of everyone else. On a one-on-one basis, you say, oh, I disagree with that. Could you have done something different? People, you still jaga air muka of the person, right? The person doesn't face, but the person also get the feedback. You also get to express yourself.
That's true. I think that's the best way to go about it because there are ways, and it's important to understand the culture, how it is in Malaysia and how it is in the UK. Like in the UK, people tend to tell it straightforward to your face.
Really, I would disagree a bit though. I
Really?
find, well, at least in my experience,
Mm-hmm.
um, oh, you know who are the people who tell it as it is? It's the Dutch.
The
They don't
Dutch.
sugarcoat. They are straightforward. I love that. If someone from Netherlands say you did a good job, you did a good job. Someone from another market says, "Oh, you did a good job." Then they go around beating around the bush and then say, "But you could have." You'd be like, "Just tell me early on. Why did you have to go around a full circle, right?"
Yeah.
But the Dutch don't do that. They are super straightforward. If they don't like it, they'll just tell you, "No, I didn't like that. I thought it was rubbish." Sakit hati, but you didn't do well. Instead
Yeah.
of walking out of the meeting room thinking you did well, but actually the person think you didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
That's worse for me.
Me too. I agree with you. It's like better to just give honest feedback so you can improve
Ah,
yourself after this.
yeah. I mean, don't be nasty lah. Don't say you were
Yeah,
ridiculous.
of course.
You were where did you leave your brains outside? I mean, don't go to on those lines, but just be direct.
Yes. And to not take things personally, especially in a professional
It's,
setting.
of course,
That's very
it's
important.
only work. At the end of the day, it's only work. It's not
Yes.
like
That's something that I think a lot of people should. I mean, our listeners and listeners, a lot of them are students, and a lot of them, they're just scared to do work or like receive feedback because they can't you can't really take the negative ones. The negative ones. It's not really negative. It's a
let
bit.
me let me. If you use back the example that my kids gave me,
Mm-hmm.
the feedback that they gave me, if they didn't care, they wouldn't have given me feedback.
Yes.
For the young people, that if you receive feedback, it means the person who's giving it still care about you,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you are walking towards a fire and I stop you and tell you don't go, don't continue walking, because I care. But if I continue seeing you walking to the fire and I buat the, or I just don't know about what you're doing, then I don't care. So if you receive feedback from people, especially if it's like constructive feedback, don't be angry with the person who's giving feedback, because it would have taken a lot of courage for the person to also share that feedback,
Yes. It's not
right? And the
easy
person,
to
yeah,
point
of
out.
course, and the person who's doing it probably cares enough to tell you that I don't think you should have done that.
Yeah. So it goes both ways. Just try
Yeah,
to
of
respect and
course.
appreciate it.
Of
Yeah.
course.
And okay, some closing questions. This is very a general question as well. With all your experiences, feel free
Don't
to
like make me
answer.
sound so old with all my experiences.
No,
Not that
because
old.
because in your experience in your career journey, so not pointing to
Okay.
your age.
No, I'm kidding. I'm just pulling your leg. Yeah, yeah, go on. With all my experiences,
I'm
of
also
the
kidding.
decades of experiences, yes.
How do you make hard decisions in life? Because surely you've had to make a lot of decisions that you know will not be able to satisfy everyone. So that's the question.
Hmm. I think you get better over time. You become more courageous on making tough decisions over time. At because life experiences would have taught you that why you're doing this, right? And for me, as long as you know the aim of that decision, it's not to please people. It's, for example, if it's a business decision, it's what's the best for the organization. That's your compass. You know why you're doing it. It's not easy. You will question yourself a million times. Or if I make this decision, Balkis is going to be disappointed. Then tomorrow I have to meet Balkis in the office. But
Yeah.
if you make a decision that Balkis is going to be happy with, but it's not right by the organization, then you're not being fair. So you are paid salary by the organization, not by Balkis. So you have to
Mhm.
do what's right with the organization. So it's about knowing why that decision is. And what I would do is I would go and like say I'll go and see you first. I'll see Balkis and say, I'm deciding on this for this following reasons. I know you're not going to be happy, but that's why I'm doing it. So I want you to know before I basically sign off on that decision. I already manage you first.
In the case where
Because,
people are unhappy.
of course, it's not a popularity contest, my dear. You're not going to win. You're not going to make everyone happy.
Mhm. And
This is not giving
I learned
free
that
lollipops to everyone.
even
Sorry?
in even in UKC, I've had the I've
Of
had to
course.
face a lot of situations like that, especially being in this position. I'm just gonna share it with you. People point out, you're not in UKC before. You've never had like a position as big as this. What makes you think you can make this decision? Because maybe you don't know enough. So it's a lot of moments like that where I had to redirect what's the purpose, what's the end goal of the plan,
Yeah.
what's UKEC's objectives. And if I feel like the decisions that I'm doing is in the interest of the organization, I just have to face it and just it's okay.
Yeah, and also understanding that sometimes you are going to make wrong decisions.
Yeah.
You're not going to be perfect all the time, and there are going to be times where you decide something with the best intentions and didn't follow someone's advice, and then you end up wrong, and that person end up correct. Now, what you should do is okay. What you shouldn't do is just be malu about it and keep quiet.
Mhm.
What you should do is go to the person and say, you know what, I decided on A, but actually what you suggested was right. Thank you, I should have listened. That's it. Nobody's going to get angry with you if you go to them and say, sorry, I should have listened to you. I decided based on this, but now in retrospect, actually you were correct. Are you
That's
going to be angry? You can't. I already brought myself to you and said, I'm wrong.
yeah. That's what yeah, and I'm just so glad that you're telling this to me because at the same time, even though I shared to you 10 seconds ago that I'm trying to do things based on the organization's interests, but there were many times where my team members could see ways that I could have handled things better.
Yeah.
So it was in those moments that I was open as well. Like it's okay to be open and just listen to the feedback that they have and actually implement them. Try to be flexible. And I think that's something that um it's a skill that, like you said, it builds over time. It's not easy for you to put your guard down like that.
And you're never, even with years and years of experience, as you put it just now, you're never going to get every decision right.
Mhm. But that's okay as well because it's a learning
Yeah.
process, right?
And you know why you pick a particular decision. You're not blindly just disagreeing with someone for the sake of disagreeing, right? You had your reasons. Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong.
It must always be an informed decision.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And last question. Okay, this is
Sure.
the last question. Just want to talk more about you. Can you share with us what are your long-term goals, aspirations, core values that you
All
plan?
right. My long term goal, apart from hoping I'll raise my children well,
Mm-hmm.
that's the ultimate job, right? One day when I retire, inshallah, the aim has always been, and I've been very clear, I want to go into teaching.
Teaching.
Teaching, yeah, that I will join a university, etc., wherever not, and basically go into teaching. I feel that I would have accumulated like tons of experience and knowledge. It's such a waste if you just keep it to yourself. You want to share that knowledge. So the plan is to go into teaching, and it's something that I've always planned. I'm very clear. And that's why I'm adjunct professor at UUM, adjunct professor at UTM. I already go to campuses and teach on a pro bono basis because I feel that's the next step in life. Now gain all the knowledge, work experience, learn, and then teach.
To give
You
back.
want you want the next generation to learn from your mistakes as much as possible.
That's a really humble and an amazing long-term goal. I think you can't go any better than that because a lot of people, I think they would really love to hear all the wisdom and knowledge that you've gained.
They might think I'm irrelevant by that age, but yeah, but you wanna share your knowledge for sure.
But no, I don't think that it's irrelevant because life stories, they're relevant across borders. It's not about the time, it's about the lesson that can be
Yeah,
shared. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely right, absolutely right.
And I think that's it for all the questions that I have. I
You,
truly, truly enjoy connecting with you on a more personal human level because in the end I just believe that we can always have a conversation regardless of our background, our age, or our position.
of course.
But it's really interesting to know someone's mindset, their values, and also it's the aim of this podcast. Yeah, I created this podcast simply because I just wanted more Malaysians to have access to more inspirational stories and for them to view figures like you on a more personal and human level, to not be intimidated by high positions or
It was a real pleasure speaking to you about this, and thank you again for inviting me. And inshallah, when I'm in UK for the career fair in April, for those of you who are listening to the podcast, please come and say hi. More than happy to chit chat with you as well.
yeah. I think they're now more excited to come and approach you. Maybe, yeah, if you're listening, just mention you listen to Chico Inspires. And I think Shazmi will
Yeah,
love it.
and if you don't want to wait until April and you want to connect before that, please feel free to add me on social media platforms. Typically, I don't check LinkedIn as much as I should because I get spammed quite a lot. But
Mhm.
if you say you listen to the podcast and just add me on Instagram or something, I will reply a message.
Yeah, I need to follow you on Instagram as well.
Oh, I'm not sure that you're missing much. I'm not so active, but I still reply messages.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, but that's it. I'm just gonna do a quick wrap
thank you
up.
so much. Yeah.
I hope the listeners enjoyed this episode, episode 3. I think every episode is the best because it has its own stories. I
And
can't.
this is the first virtual one, right? You had
This
the
is the
other two. You
first
had face to
virtual.
face. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's working really well. We can explore more. It just opens so many more opportunities because now we can, across borders, we can interview and have conversations with
Yeah.
anyone.
For sure. For sure.
It's been an honor to have Shazmi as my
Oh,
first guest.
honor's mine, pleasure's mine, and thank you, Jack, as well for the background recording. Appreciate it as well.
Yeah, and thank you so much.
Okay.
I hope you stay tuned for the next episode of Chico Inspires coming this April. Thank you.